Hello, good afternoon. Thank you very much for waiting for us again to debrief you on the agenda of the first Foreign Affairs Council this year, chaired by the High Representative Josep Borrell, who will now share with you a few points from the discussions. High Representative, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. Well, to be the first meeting of the year, we have had a very tough agenda, a very heavy agenda. Let me run through our discussion. First, we started with Russia and the events around Alexei Navalny, the arrest of Navalny and the crackdown on supporters. The Council considered it completely unacceptable, condemned the mass detentions and the police brutality over the weekend, and we call on Russia for the release of Mr. Navalny and those detained. I informed the Council about my intention of visiting Moscow, attending a long-lasting invitation from Minister Lavrov. It's going to take place in the first week of February. It will be a good opportunity to discuss with my Russian counterpart all relevant issues, to pass clear messages about the current situation, the contentious on rights and freedoms, and also to have a strategic discussion on our relation with Russia, since on March the European Council is going to have a session devoted to this relationship with Russia. So I think it's good before the European Union Council discuss strategically about this relationship, to discuss with our Russian counterpart. Then we talk about the situation of the coronavirus and the strategy for sharing vaccines. I'm strongly convinced that a fair vaccine distribution around the world is a part of the solution, not only for reasons of global solidarity, but for reasons of our own health security. We will not be safe until everyone will be safe. We have been exploring ideas and possibilities for member states to share vaccines with third countries, which is for sure difficult due to the difficulties that some member states are facing on their own vaccination process. We discussed about the upcoming relations with the US and the work that we have ahead with a new administration and a series of key global issues, from climate change to Iran and DCPOA, and the most important ones, the most urgent ones, and the ministers are ready for a new start. At the end, we discuss all aspects of our relation with Turkey, as identified in the December Council conclusions, including regarding sanctions. We took note of the important message sent since the European Union Council by the Turkish authorities and the gestures offered. We reaffirm the importance of engaging with Turkey in order to advance in and on consolidate our dialogue and cooperation. Today is the launching of exploratory talks between Greece and Turkey. This is an important step in this direction. I think that UNCLOS provides a solid basis for addressing maritime disputes, since we are defending international law. This is one example of international law. It will be equally important to ensure the restart of United Nations-led Cyprus settlement on the framework of the United Nations process. Talks should start as soon as possible, and the European Union is ready to be invited as an observer, as it happened on the past round of talks. We will accompany closely these developments and will continue our engagement with Turkey in view of the report I will have to present to the European Council in March together with the Commission, taking very much into account the December Council conclusions and how things will develop in the following weeks from any point of view. At the same time, the repair will continue their work according with the Council conclusions. We also raised the case of Giulio Regeni. This is a serious matter for Italy and so for the entire Union. We continue to call on Egypt to fully cooperate with Italian authorities for the accountability and for justice to be served. And one of the most important issues of this meeting has been a video conference with the Foreign Minister of Japan, Toshimitsu Motegi, which reconfirmed that the EU and Japan are like-minded partners in a turbulent international environment on all fronts. And I have to thank Minister Motegi for a very, very interesting presentation on the Indo-Pacific region situation and political and economic prospects. We have agreed on looking for a green alliance between us and accelerate our ambitious climate action and green transition, and the increasing strategic importance of the Indo-Pacific region, which makes our cooperation with Japan unavoidable, important and unavoidable. We shared concerns on escalating tensions in the South China and East China Seas, and also about the situation in Hong Kong. On this last issue, we discussed with ministers the urgency for Chinese and Hong Kong authorities to respect the rule of law, human rights, and democratic principles. I'll also briefly touch the issue of Bosnia-Herzegovina, where I informed the ministers about our actions to address the situation of migrants who were forced to sleep outside in freezing temperatures over recent weeks in front of shelters fully equipped and built and paid by the European Union, that the local authorities deny access to these people. We analyzed the situation in the Horn of Africa, where we urgently need to prevent further destabilization. I fully informed the ministers about the situation in the Tigray region in Ethiopia, the situation also along the Sudanese Ethiopian border, and we will have to put more political pressure in order to settle the dispute through a diplomatic and peaceful means. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Finland, Pekka Haavisto, will travel as an envoy of the EU in order to visit the region early February, together with our EU Special Representative, Mr. Rondos, on the same way that the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Portugal has been visiting Mozambique. We adopted conclusions on Venezuela, reaffirming the statement approved by unanimity immediately after the elections, marking the consensus on how to proceed in our efforts to help finding solutions to the crisis. Now more than ever, I call on Venezuelan leaders to think about their citizens and sit down and talk realistically about how to overcome an unsustainable political situation. But the ministers reaffirmed its agreement with the statement that we issue about the role of the opposition and the ongoing National Assembly. Finally, together with Commissioner Executive Vice President Timmermans, we had a long discussion on climate and energy diplomacy, very much aware that we are advancing towards the end of the fossil fuel era, that we have to manage the energy transition, to look for a fair climate financing. We will need a lot of resources in order to multiply by 5 the share of the renewable resources, currently 5% of the energy consumption at the global level. It will require foreign investment strategies. The European Investment Bank is leading the way with its climate bank plans. I recently presented a paper together with the chairman of the bank, and we will discourage all further investments into fossil fuel-based energy infrastructure projects in third countries and support initiatives to phase out fossil fuels here at home. And we will engage mainly in Africa. Africa is today only 2% of the global emissions, 2%, due to the low level of energy consumption per capita in Africa. This consumption will have to increase. If we want the Africans, which they too are growing in number, to have the same level of quality of life, they will have to increase their energy consumption and at the same time not to increase the CO2 emissions. This will require a gigantic effort, and we will have to be standing together with our African partners. Climate will be a key part of our African partnership. Finally, as you see, I used the word finally several times because it was a long list of issues. Finally, touch our cooperation with UK in matters of common foreign and defence policy. You know that the UK didn't want to negotiate any structured cooperation about these matters, but we are ready to engage with the UK on major global issues, be it climate change or working together in the global response to the coronavirus pandemic. Allow me to highlight some conclusions. To put in practice the concept of maritime coordinated presence, for the first time, we have launched a pilot case in the Gulf of Guinea. This is a maritime area of high interest for us, where piracy attacks is not yet the Somalian coast, but there are cases of kidnappings, attacks to boats and other illegal activities that put at risk commercial routes and the security of the region. It will be a pilot case for our coordinated presence of our maritime assets. What does it mean in practice? This means that member states which are already present in the region will share information, awareness, analysis, and promote together international cooperation at sea and the coastal countries to address the increasing security challenges in the region. It has been a long but fruitful meeting in a moment in which the coronavirus is the most important concern for all member states, and the issue of sharing vaccines is in the table, trying to look for a stronger engagement by the member states.
Thank you very much, High Representative. Now space for your questions. As usual, raise your hands, colleagues, and then wait until your microphone is open, then introduce yourself and ask your question, please, if possible, in a short and concise way. La première question, Christian Spielmann, Agence France Presse. Christian, voilà.
Est-ce que vous m'entendez, Monsieur Borrell? Oui, je sens. J'ai deux petites questions à vous poser concernant les deux premiers dossiers qui sont la Russie et la Turquie. Lors de leur arrivée, plusieurs ministres ont... je ne peux pas démarrer ma vidéo, désolé. Plusieurs ministres ont évoqué la question de sanctions après l'arrestation de M. Navalny et de ses partisans. Je voudrais savoir si ce débat a eu lieu, si effectivement il a été retenu, si des sanctions restent un outil au cas où, à votre retour de votre mission à Moscou, il n'y aurait aucun développement positif de la part de la Russie concernant le sort de M. Navalny et de ses partisans. Et ma seconde question est sur la même ligne, sur la Turquie. Lors du sommet en décembre, les dirigeants européens ont annoncé la préparation de sanctions. Ils ont même annoncé qu'une liste serait présentée au mois de janvier. Je voudrais savoir si cette liste a été finalisée, si elle existe et si c'est par opportunité politique que vous n'avez peut-être pas décidé d'annoncer quoi que ce soit pour profiter de l'instant annoncé par les autorités turques, c'est-à-dire tous les signaux positifs. Merci.
Well, about Russia, some member states raised the question of which would be the good answer to the situation in Russia with respect to Mr. Navalny and the people, about 3,000 people being arrested. Some raised this question, others not, but there has not been any concrete proposal on the table. For sure, the Council is ready to react as required by the circumstances and to take appropriate actions if the circumstances require. But today, it has not been any kind of proposal and as consequences, any kind of decision about it. You say that we take decisions by which was the expression?
Consensus?
For the consideraciones políticas, no?
Political considerations.
Yes, for political considerations. I can assure you that everything that we do is based on political considerations, evidently. And about Russia, about Turkey, sanctions, no sanctions, all is being considered from the point of view of political considerations. It is our job. The Council decided, and the technical bodies are still working. The lists are not ready, but has not been put aside. The work continues.
Okay, thank you. Next question, Irini Zarkadula, Greek TV ERT.
Thank you for the question. Well, I would like to ask High Representative if there is any possibility for you to visit Turkey soon. And besides, what is the message EU received from Mr. Çavuşoğlu's visit and his declaration, of course? And what is the message EU sent to the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Turkey? Thank you.
Oi?
If you are planning to go to Turkey, no, she's referring to Çavuşoğlu's visit
Last visit. Well, it was it was a mutual message. We talk each other, no? I was not on listening mood. Neither Minister Çavuşoğlu was in listening mood. We speak each other. We review all the issues that has put a lot of trouble in our relations during the 2020, and both parts agreed on the need to overcome these difficulties and to look for a better way of sharing concerns, working together, and have a better neighborhood. I am happy to say that today the irritants that poisoned life during the last summer and autumn, today has been stopped. There is no Turkish boats and no drilling activities, and we agreed that both parts will keep this momentum and to use it positively in order to try to reach agreements. Today, the Turkish-Greek pre-talks will start or have already started, and we hope that by the middle of February, end of February, the first talks about the resettlement on the Cyprus will also start. And my worry is that we have to keep this momentum. And about all issues that during 2020 were difficult, in Cyprus, in the delimitation in waters, all this has to be kept calm in order to allow a good atmosphere.
Thank you. Next question, Ricard Jozwiak, Radio Free Europe. Ricard, you can go ahead. Your mic is open.
Okay, do you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, so Ricard Jozwiak, Radio Free Europe. Two questions, if I may. Sorry, was my wife walking by here? I wonder. If you go to Moscow next week, will you demand to see or speak to Mr. Navalny? And secondly, is there a sort of deadline when you would consider imposing sanctions, when you want to see him released, for example, by the time you visit Moscow?
No, las cosas no se plantean de esta manera. But things, you don't do things this way. I will be very happy to see Mr. Navalny. I will try to keep in touch with the Russian civil society. We do that every day at different levels. But this is a visit to the Russian government. And we will, for sure, talk about the Russian government, about all these issues, and about Navalny also. No problem, no? There is no fixed date. There is not a schedule already fixed in order to what the European Council will do, depending on what's happening. But for sure, our answer will depend on the development of the situation. And if the European Council has to talk about the relationship with Russia in March, I think that this is a good moment to go and to talk and to reach out with the Russian authorities. No? I don't share the opinion that when things go bad, you don't talk. By the contrary, that's the moment in which to talk is still more required.
Thank you. Next question, James Crisp from Telegraph. James, your mic will be open shortly. It's still not open. Okay, now you can go ahead.
Hello, thank you for the question. I'd like to ask, unsurprisingly, about Brexit and what was discussed about EU-UK relations, and specifically about the potential downgrade of the status of the EU ambassador to the UK. And was there any sort of discussion about potential retaliation? Thank you.
Well, for sure the issue was raised, and there is a clear view and unity among member states. It's not a friendly signal, the first one that the United Kingdom has sent to us immediately after leaving the European Union. If things have to continue like this, there's no good prospects. You know, we do not ask for something new, or we don't ask for an special treatment. The external status of the European Union is recognized by countries and international organizations around the world. And we expect the United Kingdom to treat the European Union delegations accordingly and without delay. We have 143 delegations around the world. Without a single exception, all host states have accepted to grant these delegations and their staff a status equivalent to that of diplomatic missions of states under the Vienna Convention. And the UK is very well aware of that. 143 states around the world, all of them. Reciprocal treatment based on this convention is a standard practice between equal partners, and we are confident that we can clear this issue with our friends in London in a satisfactory manner. We'll give all facilities in order to look for a satisfactory manner, but we will not accept that the United Kingdom will be the only country in the world that doesn't recognize the delegation of the European Union, the equivalent of a diplomatic mission.
Thank you. La dernière question pour Philippe Régnier de Le Soir.
Oui, bonjour, merci beaucoup. C'est d'ailleurs une suite en quelque sorte de ce que vous venez de dire à propos de ce geste inamical du Royaume-Uni. Est-ce que, malgré tout, vous estimez vous-même ou les ministres qu'il serait utile de coordonner, de se concerter avec Londres, voire même avec Washington, en ce qui concerne une réaction aux derniers événements en Russie? Ce qu'on appelle globalement l'affaire Navalny, mais ce n'est pas la seule. Est-ce qu'il est utile que l'Union européenne agisse de concert avec le Royaume-Uni dans cette affaire et avec les États-Unis, ou bien est-ce que on peut avancer tout seul? Merci beaucoup.
Puede avanzar sola, ya es mayor de edad. La Unión Europea es mayor de edad, avanza sola todos los días en todos los frentes. Pero eso no quiere decir que no esté dispuesta a buscar coordinación y cooperación con los países con los que mantenemos relaciones muy especiales, que pensamos de la misma manera, compartimos los mismos sistemas políticos. I'm speaking Spanish, but it doesn't matter. I'm sure there is translation. No? Sorry, I jumped to Spanish. I don't know why. No, for sure we can advance alone, but we will be more than happy to coordinate with the UK and US. No? With US, still cannot, because the new administration is still not just arrived, it's still not fully working. But be sure that we will coordinate much better than in the past. Much better than in the past.
Okay, thank you very much, High Representative. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you to the translators. We have to rush